Doing okay. My girlfriend and I just celebrated 6 years together. Doing so. Thank you very much. Thank you. Very happy I found someone because I look like the guy who gets left at the altar in every rom-com. I look, you know, like the rich prick she's dating at the beginning of the movie, and she wants to leave him, but her mom keeps saying stuff like, "Catherine, I don't care if he has erectile dysfunction. Colton comes from a good family." Like that kind of. This is a bottle of pills. Yeah.
There's Matthew Broussard, who does look like that. You do look like that.
I do look like that.
Are you still with that girlfriend?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know how old that clip was. 7 years.
7 years.
So let me do some quick math. Oh, that was a year ago.
Yes.
He's celebrating 6 years in that clip.
Oh,
7 years, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming in. I know you're hauling ass from the airport, so
yeah,
we appreciate it.
We got smoke delays. LaGuardia
do you
shut down
really?
because of the smoke.
In New York?
Yeah, the whole city was sepia toned.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure where you were coming from.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's here too, but I think we had it a little worse.
Right.
Smoky.
Where in New York do you live?
I live in Brooklyn.
And you
right
like
by
it?
Barclays. It's smelly and gross, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's nice. You know. It's. I'll see how long I can hang on before I'm like, this isn't worth it. I deserve a backyard.
But you're
and
from
lower taxes.
Jersey?
Nah. No, I was born there. I don't remember it.
Oh,
I learned how to
okay.
walk, and I got out of there.
Where
Left
did you
when I
grow
was 2. Texas and Georgia.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a Southern guy.
Okay. My
Yeah.
dad's from Alabama and Mississippi, and his whole side of the family is from that.
Yeah, my mom's side of the family, when they came to the U.S., they came to Alabama. So they were
From the
Jews from Poland.
Oh,
and they're
really?
like, Alabama, that's the next closest place. Huh?
And then
Yeah.
they stayed there.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
They're like, "Hello, y'all. What's going on?"
How bad were things
you
there
don't
that
meet a lot
Alabama
of
was?
Jews.
Yeah.
You don't meet a lot of Jews that go roll tide.
Well, it happens. Matthew Broussard. Is it Broussard or Broussard?
Oh, you know, it's funny. It's the first is correct, but I say it incorrectly. It's,
Okay, that's the Southern
it's
in you.
Broussard is
Yeah.
how I'm supposed to say it, and my cousins correct me, but I say Broussard.
Broussard. I figured 6 of 1, but
Mm-hmm.
I like to pronounce people's names correctly. Matthew and Bill are doing shows over at Hilarities. You can go to pickwickandfrolic.com for the details on that. I always like talking to people who came from more, like you were an engineering student, something like that.
Computational and applied mathematics.
Computational and applied mathematics. Where'd you go to school?
I went to Rice in
Okay,
Houston.
there you go. So people who have that background and then they go, you know what? I want to be a comedian. There aren't a ton of them, but there's that cerebral vibe that runs through the creative part of it that I love.
Yeah, there's
You remember Wayne Cotter?
no.
Okay. This would have been late 80s. How old are you?
I am.
You're a young
I was
man.
born in the late 80s.
Yeah, okay. So it would have been late 80s, early 90s was this guy, Wayne Cotter, who was, I thought, a hilarious comedian. I think he might have gone through the old Star Search machine, right? And he ended up doing a lot of corporate gigs and things like that. But he was an engineer who became a comedian. And there was just a vibe in the writing and the delivering that maybe I was projecting the cerebral part onto it, but it's got to be in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers in my act, and that,
Yeah.
which is a horrible way to sell what I'm doing. I swear you don't have to. There's no prereqs for my hour.
He's very funny.
That's what I mean. Like
very
it's well written, and there's I think it's very funny.
I will say I computational mathematics, and now that I do comedy and post clips every day, I use the word algorithm way more
Than you would
than I
have
ever
otherwise.
did in college.
Yeah. So explain.
Is that how you got to be an opener for Bert? Is he's like, oh, the computational mathematics. That's my crowd.
That's what I'm missing.
Bert almost kicked me off the bus once because I was talking about like relativity. And he was like, "You got it, you got to stop, Matt." And then he had a nightmare that night. It was like a sexy nightmare where some can I say the word? Where an adult actress was like courting him, and then she was like, "I want to tell you about special relativity." And he just like I snuck into his nightmares.
Huge numbers
hilarious.
were chasing him around. 6 and 9 were chasing him around. I think so. You mentioned right before we went on the air that you were when Bert was here. I think it was Guardians opening day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a big
we
day.
were over at the ball field, and Bert was down at Rover.
It was the day after.
It was the day after.
Well, Bert was here the day of the home opener, but then the show was the day after.
He came
'Cause I
in
went to the
early
home
to-
opener,
yeah.
then I went to the show the next day, and Matthew opened, and just.
I didn't
killed it.
realize you
Hilarious.
opened that show. So you were
Yeah.
you were crashing on the bus when he was in here.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
sleeping right here on the. There's a street outside. The
You're
bus was
parked
parked
on
there. I
Euclid,
was
yeah.
sleeping on you. Yeah, and he came back on
People
the bus.
sleep on Euclid all the time. by the way.
Yeah.
You're not special.
You had amazing accommodations.
I had a smaller space than they do.
Yeah.
On the bunk beds on the bus, and he came back on the bus, and he was drunk, and we were having a morning coffee, and he was on his like fifth beer of the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he goes way back with the morning show too. So I mean,
Yeah.
he's down there having a good time. So what would computational mathematics have? What
to
did you
this, huh?
plan on doing?
I worked in finance. I worked for math education for a tiny bit, but
Okay.
I worked in finance. You can do just anything with numbers in engineering,
Especially in
you can-
finance.
Yeah,
So you were
finance.
like, I'm going to make $1 billion because if you're a numbers guy in finance and not just a bro,
Yeah.
if you're the quants, you're the guy that they come to.
That's the financial collapse was caused because they let jocks do math. That's
Right.
the problem with Wall Street. It's
Right.
the bros who don't know numbers.
Do
I
it.
was a spreadsheet jockey. I had like a real like easy job that I still managed to be bad at. So I was just
There was a movie, to me, the true test of a movie like that dramatizes like a financial crash or something is how they can make that interesting, right? And there was a movie
The
called
Big Short.
Well, The
Oh,
Big Short was one, but there was one called Margin Call.
that was exciting.
And it was like Kevin Spacey, Demi Moore. I mean, it was stacked. And
Yeah,
Zachary
Penn
Quinto,
Badgley.
yeah. Zachary Quinto was the math guy who discovers the whole thing is going to melt down. That's what I envisioned. Were you sitting in front of giant screens deciphering things like that?
Ugh, I wish. Also,
Or it was
Zach
more
Quinto
boring than
is Spock, right? Which
Yeah,
is
he's
the
Spock.
same role you just
Yep.
described.
They just took the pointy ears off.
No, I was just here's what people don't realize finance is. We were private wealth management, so we took millionaires' money and invested it for them. Our job wasn't to invest well. Our job was to make them feel stupid and scared and that they couldn't do it themselves. So your job as finance is to just use so many big words that the person is just like, that sounds complicated. Here, take my money.
To
and invest it
overwhelm
for me."
them with
Yes.
information.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the whole goal of finance is it's not really that hard for most of it. It's
Right.
it's just it's the dark arts of math. You just trick people and use a bunch of useless words.
I'm so
It's just car salesman.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you gotta get that undercoat.
Yeah.
You're gonna need that undercoat.
selling
Derivatives
people
and
and-
yeah. Yeah.
But also, I think I'm kind of a sharp guy, but when it comes to math or anything like my dad was an engineer.
Yeah.
And so I grew up kind of in that, but I didn't get any of those genes. So I'm so envious and fascinated by people that can just figure it out, look at something, they go, well, this is this and this is this, like how you're describing. It's so far beyond me when somebody goes, well, there's really not much to it. You just tell these guys this and that. It's like you might as well be speaking Japanese to me. I'm fascinated by that.
I think I'm on the other side of it where numbers were like a more interesting and fun thing for me. But like reading people, I do feel like I have more trouble. Like I do fine, but I've had to like learn it, like the rules of like when to talk, when not
Right.
to, what is arrogant, what is mean, how do you like listen and communicate.
Right. So what was it? What was the turn for you then when you were like, what was the spark where you go, I'll go to an open mic, see what happens? I mean, were people telling you, oh, you're funny? And then what was it?
No, I was never told I was funny. I think it was just I was working in finance. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was doing triathlons at the time.
Right.
And I just got like super injured and I needed something else to do. And I saw a flyer for an open mic and it just seemed really cool. And
Really?
it was, my parents did a really good job of convincing me I wasn't going to do anything else with my life. They wouldn't let me do plays. I wanted to do all that stuff. But my parents were like, you're going to use math and that's going to be
Oh, you
your
wanted
life."
to be a creative type,
They-
kind of. I mean,
Deep down, yeah, but
Yeah.
like they beat it out of me verbally. Like they were just like, if you're gonna have a career, it's gonna be with math. And then
were they academics?
very much. My dad
Okay.
was a chemist. My mom was a microbiologist.
Oh, okay. So you come from that stock. Okay.
Yeah, there was no other idea in my. I didn't even entertain the notion of being anything else. And then I
Right.
saw a flyer for an open mic, and I was like,
And it was
well,
game on.
yeah. And it was like, that's okay. I don't know how to play a musical instrument. I'm not a trained actor. If I wanted to do anything, this is the last thing. This is the last door open into a career that is not that. That
Right.
is somewhat artistically and creatively fulfilling. And I tried it, and I was like, well, let's see if I could maybe make this a job. It's really fun.
Where was that at?
That was in Houston,
Houston.
in
Okay, so you
2011.
started in Houston and then
Yeah.
moved to New York.
Houston, LA, New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the Houston scene like then? I mean, was there any? I mean, every city of that size has kind of got. You'd think
You'd think
there might not be a Houston scene.
You'd think there'd be more, especially when I started.
Yeah.
It was we were living in the shadow of Kinnison and Hicks.
Okay.
Those were like the last people.
Right.
We had Ralphie May, who came up under the same guy who took me under his wing, Danny Martinez.
But I mean, Hicks died when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ralphie was long gone. Ralphie was a fantastic comic.
Right.
But it was bro-y. It was a lot of bars, and that's how I like learned to do comedy. Was like you were doing comedy to people who didn't know there was a comedy show happening.
Yeah.
You were up
And there's
against it every
football
night.
games behind you. Yeah.
Right.
And it made you a little more aggressive, a little more crude. And then I would spend some time in Austin, which is like the opposite, where it's all soft and it's feelings, but it's very clever and smart. So I had to learn how to balance those two worlds.
Right.
Well, that's a good place to be, to have the skill set to kind of be able to go in between and have something with a little bit of an edge to it, but also something with a little more nuance to it. And I thought you did a really good job, especially in an arena setting.
Oh, thank you.
Which is so much more difficult than people understand, because it's not the typical call and response that you get in a comedy club or even a theater, because it's just so vast.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we have those. Yeah.
So I've heard. I don't know. I mean, I did a show at the Palace of Auburn Hills, but there's like 2,000 people.
Yeah. Still.
It's still a bit the same size arena.
Yeah. Past 1,000, it's a because with Bert's crowd here it was like I think 12 or 13,000.
Yeah.
What makes it different though is you have those big jumbotrons next to the stage. So your face is bigger than your whole body.
Yeah.
Like on that screen, my face is 4 feet tall. Yeah. So in a weird, it feels really distant, but also they can see every thought you're having.
Right.
Because the screens are so big, so you have to like really make sure you're like living.
Yeah.
And like
those
emoting
moments.
and not just
for the
talking.
camera or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was there that crowd enjoyed what you were doing? I mean, because I would think like, everybody's told these horror stories about opening for a band, right? And they just want to see the band. They don't care about the comic. But if you're a comedian that like Bert's taking you out, is there an acceptance because they go, well, if Bert likes this guy, he must be funny?
Yes.
Is there a leg up from something like that?
There's a leg up in that Bert's crowds are the biggest comedy fans in the world.
Right.
And those shows feel like 1/4 a comedy show. 1/4 a sports game, 1/4 a political rally,
right?
Like 1/4. I don't know. I guess that's just 3/4. So
From the
multiply
math
each
guy.
of those by 4/3.
Yeah.
Math. All right.
But they're primed to have a good time.
They're primed to have a good time.
You're halfway there.
And I'm obviously Bert is vouching for me by putting me on the show.
Right.
But I do feel
and they're
a
used
little...
to it too now. I feel like because they've kind of come up with Bert, like they know that there's going to be openers, and that I feel like there was an era where, like, if you were opening for Kinnison, you were being thrown to the wolves because they just wanted Kinnison.
Yes.
But now, because of podcasts, like, they understand how comedy shows go, where they're going, okay, there's going to be some openers. Let's listen to these guys because they may have heard you on his podcast or him talking about you. So they are excited about that aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of podcasts where like you can go into some people go, oh, I've heard this guy or heard of him in conjunction with other people, or no?
I don't do enough of them.
Yeah.
I'll do some, but I don't have my own. You kind of have to have your own podcast to get on other people's.
Right, but it sounds like everybody's doing everybody else's, even if you don't have your own. It's like there's like this. I mean, incestuous is a silly word, but I mean everybody, because a lot of funny people want to hang out with funny people.
Yeah.
So everybody's
and everyone
talking.
wants to watch it.
Yeah, right. It's pretty wild.
It's like a whole world now. Like people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to LA for a week to do some podcasts.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the press tour now.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, oh, I got to take a week to do all the podcasts that are in Austin and all the ones that are in Nashville now, too, because it's getting so separated.
Have you done Rogan's Club?
I have. I did it a couple of weeks ago.
Is it as advertised where these like people are ready, man? They're
really it's perfectly set up. I guess it's the only club I've ever seen where someone knows what they were doing and had the money to make everything the way a club should be run.
See, that's what I'm most interested in is the aesthetics. It sounds like it's just every comic would walk in and go, this is my dream venue.
It's a dream. Both rooms are pretty beautiful.
And it's big, I assume?
There's 2 rooms. The whole venue is big. Yeah. The big room is big.
Yeah.
And the small room's like 100, and it's so intimate and so tight.
That
was the one I did.
Yeah.
And it felt just really, even for this, how small it was stacked in layers, and yeah, the crowd. It was a nice room, whereas everyone has their phones in their pockets, and it's made pretty known by the comics and the audience that you can say whatever you really want to say,
right?
As long as you're trying to make a joke, which is nice.
Do you have a sense when you play Houston? Do you have a sense that feels like? Does that feel like going home to you, or are you like, it doesn't really have a vibe for me anymore?
Houston still does.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of memories.
Mom and dad are still there or no?
Oh no, I grew up in Atlanta. My mom's in Atlanta.
Oh, they're in Atlanta.
Yeah, but I didn't
Okay.
start comedy. I do love Atlanta. Atlanta's also
Atlanta's a
it's-
great city.
Great scene.
It's a really good scene.
Traffic sucks, but the city's awesome.
Yeah, and the comedy scene there, someone described it to me. If you want to do all the rooms, if you want to perform every night, you have to be willing to do black rooms, hipster rooms, and redneck rooms.
Yes.
Which means
The trifecta.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the comics learn how to balance their act between all three of these. So when these guys go on stage, they're just monsters. They have every gear
Yeah.
and some extra.
So that's a great place to come up then.
That's a great. I kind of wish I mean, I spent a lot of time there. I did my album there.
Yeah.
It's a great city. I grew up in East Cobb, and it's so weird. Like I didn't understand what Atlanta was because I moved there and I lived in East Cobb, and then I left Atlanta. And then the way people described Atlanta, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Gay and black? No, it's just a big white subdivision. What are you talking about?
Street, yeah. You're like, oh, I didn't. Years ago, because I started stand up before radio, and I started 30 plus years ago. But I mean, in Chicago, so it was like there weren't
the
redneck rooms,
Oh, yeah.
but there were way more rooms than obviously there are now. But you could do black clubs, but you were gonna get your ass kicked, which is good training.
Yes.
Or you're gonna get bumped by Bernie Mac, or you know what I mean. And a lot of those clubs aren't even around anymore. There wasn't the Hill Rod gear there that you're describing. But it does, man. You get this patina on you after a while, where you're like, even if I bomb, I'm bulletproof.
Yeah.
Insofar as reacting to whatever. You
Yeah.
know, you can eat crap and walk out and go, that's all right. We'll do it next time or whatever.
Yeah, and it's so much of comedy is about being willing and able to fail.
Yeah.
The more you
because you're
going to
do
loss,
it
the more you're
for the
gonna win.
first 2 years. You're going to do nothing but that.
Yeah.
Was that for you, or are you one of those unicorns who were like, oh, I was kind of good from the jump?
I had my first two sets went well, notably well for first two sets. I'm sure
Right.
they'd be horrible to watch. And then I bombed really bad for months.
A lot of people had that story.
Yeah.
Mary's got that story. You know, she's
Yeah.
like, I thought I was going to
Well,
be.
because she did the set at the student talent show in college, and then like everybody was just amped up over that. And then you go to a real mic, and it's so different. You know, like it's not a captive audience. It's like
It's
you're
not your
talking about, like,
peers
you're kinda
either.
battling. I remember a guy doing a comedy club open mic and doing really well. And I told him to come out to this other show that we were running at a bar. And he gets there, and he's sitting there for like 5-7 minutes, and just he's probably 21 years old, 22 years old at the
Getting
time,
deflated.
and he's just looking around. And he's like, "There's not many people here," and I was like, "Yeah, this is kind of where you figure things out." And then he just picks up his phone and goes, my grandpa's in the hospital. I gotta go. like, buddy, your phone didn't even ring.
My grandma just got sick now.
yeah.
They got him right to the hospital.
Yeah.
American Healthcare Board. They are right on it. It's amazing.
Oh, my appendix burst. Gotta go. Oh, that.
Are you guys gonna be okay without me though? Like,
That 87-year-old appendix
funny.
finally gave out. You do like corporate gigs?
Some.
Are you? Because you're clean, right? I mean,
not that clean?
Oh, really?
No, I just use a lot of big words.
Hey, you know what?
For every big word I use, you forget one swear word.
Hey, that's pretty good.
I think that's the
Yeah.
rule. Yeah.
Little smoke and mirrors.
I used to do a lot of college shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you had to amp it up a little bit, and
That was.
or you mean the other way, where they're like, can't say this, can't say this, can't say this.
There's two kinds of clean.
Yep.
And college clean is like blue state clean, which is like don't make fun of anyone.
Right.
Right.
But you can talk about sex so long as it's in a way that's like liberating towards women or
Yeah.
towards whatever non or queer people.
Yes.
You can even swear, but then there's like red state clean, which is the corporate shows, which don't talk about sex. You also use sweary words, but if your innuendo is clever, you can also be like racist. They don't care about that.
Right.
You can be incredibly misogynistic so long as you're like my wife.
Red State audiences are a lot better laughers sometimes.
They can be.
Yeah.
Not now, but now they're a little. Yeah, they're more fun. Now college shows are just both. I could handle when they were blue state clean, but now they're blue state and red state clean. So it's like
that's no fun.
it's really no fun to try to do both.
Right.
And I just had some real bad college.
Centrist
I was going to say,
clean.
how do you even know, like, going in? Like, other than them telling you, so they can tell you one thing.
Mhm.
You know, the student affairs director comes over all sweaty and says, don't do X, Y, and Z. But then you go out there, they don't know what this person told you.
Mhm.
And you got to kind of straddle that and go, okay,
Yeah.
let's find out what I can do.
That was the last college gig I did where I just asked how clean. They're like, oh, just don't be like filthy. I'm
Yep.
like, okay, well, I won't say the C word or whatever.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
I'm like, if you don't, I'm not going to ask any further because I don't want to have any reason for you to pull the check. So I'm just going to ask as little as possible.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, you got a little too dirty with the sexual stuff. And I was like, what was I supposed to do? I was bombing.
Yeah.
And that's the only stuff that can, like, I got to try that.
Wake
to
them
see-
back
yeah.
up.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing that is always so aggravating when you have to do a clean show. And like the stuff that they want is the thing that I can't talk about.
Yes.
And like we're trying to make this work together. They're like, yeah, give us that.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah. I mean, I didn't do a college. I did the opposite of a college, a campground a couple weeks ago. And,
But it was a
yeah.
Blue State campground.
Yeah,
It was
that was
tough.
it was Ohio. I mean, but they wanted a clean show, and like giving them a little bit of innuendo was like where things were really getting a pop.
Yes.
And then I was like, yeah, I should have just said we'll do a regular comedy night, not have it be family friendly, because
Yeah.
there was like 4 kids there that were just on their phones, so they didn't care. So like, just kick them out. There's other pavilions.
It's not. They always talk about like it's adult comedy. I'm like, it's the only people who care about dirty is very old people.
Right.
Kids love dirty.
Yeah.
People, corporate settings love dirty.
Oh,
like the
yeah.
second you're in a corporate show and you crack like just the word vagina or something, they're
Yeah.
all like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
We're in the office and he just said
Yeah.
the V word.
Yeah. Or if you're making fun of Bob from Accounts Payable. Matthew Broussard is at Hilarities tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday. Sunday or no?
No.
Okay. Tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday with Bill Squire. You go to pickwickandfrolic.com for the details. Monday Punday, yeah?
That's me.
Online? That's
Yeah.
him. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
Thanks for
so
coming in,
much.
pal. All right, let me take a break. You want to text for anything else? 35192. You can watch at alancoxshow.com, and we'll be back.
It's the Alan Cox Show.
Everywhere on